Hello and welcome to this showcase session. In this session, I will briefly go over my dissertation study that lasted for 3 years, in which my goal was to design and evaluate an online learning community that integrates formal and informal learning. My name is Bushra Zawawi. I hold a Ph.D. in Learning Technologies Design Research and a master's degree in Instructional Design and Technology from George Mason University. I am an adjunct faculty teaching University 100 courses for freshmen. I also work as a competency analyst at Cybermedia Technologies. Here are the outlines for this session. First, I'll discuss the research problem based on the literature, which will lead to the purpose of the study. Then I will establish a common ground for the audience by providing the definitions of learning community and integrated learning as they were used in this study. I will then dive into the actual research study by providing an overview of the research method, implementation of the study, and the results. The International Board of Standards for Training, Performance, and Instruction, or IPSTP, states that competent practitioners update and improve knowledge, skills, and attitudes pertaining to the instructional design process and related fields. The IPSTP statement urges designers to continuously and proactively improve their knowledge and skill sets of instructional design to deliver effective and pedagogically sound learning solutions. Why? Because instructional design is a dynamic field with constant and evolutionary changes such as technical advancements. It is a multidisciplinary field that includes, but not limited to, learning theories, instructional design models and practices, e-learning, information technologies, and so forth, which means that instructional designers need to continuously gain sophisticated and advanced skills to adapt to the rapid growth and changes within the field. Many researchers argue that formal instructional design degree programs prepare students for traditional instructional design tasks, such as conducting needs analysis, writing learning objectives, and selecting optimized media for training. In addition to these tasks, however, instructional designers perform non-traditional tasks that are not accounted for within formal education, such as team building, supervising personnel, and product marketing. Finally, the soft skills that instructional designers depend on to create effective social communication with subject matter experts or SMEs and to understand their mental model are not supported in traditional instructional design education because they cannot be observed nor objectively evaluated, which means that instructional design students should develop lifelong learning attitudes to achieve skills and competencies that are not supported in formal instructional design degree programs. Given the already discussed reasons, instructional designers should not remain stagnant and should continue with professional development. However, Chi-Young, Ideol, and Sharif and Chu argued that instructional designers' professional development is not evident nor sufficient because of lack of budget, workload, priority in relation to organizational support. Therefore, instructional designers should take full responsibility for their career development as a lifelong learning habit, rather than relying on formal organizational training. In addition to what was discussed in the previous slide, most traditional instructional design degree programs provide students with the foundational knowledge, skills, and competencies within the field, with some applied practices and little opportunities to integrate informal learning activities within courses. However, instructional design students need more than discipline-specific knowledge of instructional design to continue with professional development and prosper in their careers. After conducting extensive research on the topic of informal learning, I found that most research focuses on the role of formal education in preparing instructional design students for future careers. Many researchers emphasize the importance of creating authentic learning environments, such as case studies, action learning, to immerse students in ill-defined real-world problems and reflective thinking to justify their design choices and expose them to the complexity and the dynamics of future workplace. In spite of that, the role of informal learning in shaping instructional design students' knowledge and skill sets as part of their formalized learning and professional development trajectory is becoming an increasingly significant issue in education. Nonetheless, there is no conceptual framework or evidence-based pedagogical approach that guides the integration of informal learning activities within formal instructional design degree programs to help students receive a holistic learning experience that addresses the dynamic and evolving nature of instructional design. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to design, develop, and evaluate a technology-mediated learning environment, or a TMLE, that integrates informal learning activities in an instructional design master's course to advance students' knowledge and skills and support their establishment of a professional development trajectory. Learning community was selected as the pedagogical model for the TMLE to integrate formal and informal learning because it was used by many previous research that integrated formal and informal learning in higher education across different fields, such as biology, English, and medical studies. Since learning community can be really used in any learning setting, formal or informal, I needed a more focused definition of what integrated learning means to help with structuring the informal learning activities within the TMLE. Thus, integrated learning in this study means a flexible learning experience that tailors formal objectives within individualized learning goals through a combination of mandatory and optional activities and a provisional guidance from the faculty or a facilitator. I adopted design-based research as the research method for this study because it allows for investigating a sophisticated and practical learning problem that doesn't have a clear learning solution. There are several design-based research frameworks that designers can select to guide the design process. For this study, I selected to apply the Integrative Learning Design Framework, or ILDF, that was developed by Dr. Bannon to help with executing the rigorous design-based research using 4 interconnected phases. The 3 ILDF phases that are adapted for this proposed study: the informed exploration, enactment, and evaluation of local impact, have unique research questions, data sources, and methods to guide the complex design research. Nonetheless, each phase is influenced by the results from the previous phase. So in the informed exploration phase, I conducted several exploratory microcycles that consisted of an extensive literature review, a qualitative case study to explore faculty's perspectives on the integration of formal and informal learning, another qualitative case study to explore graduate students' perspectives on integrating formal and informal learning, and then I conducted a comparative analysis of faculty and graduate students' case studies, and finally, a survey to investigate graduate student use of informal learning activities. These microcycles resulted in the development of 6 design principles that guided the design of the TMLE. Then following is the enactment phase. In the enactment phase, I articulated a detailed prototype of the TMLE based on the design principles and conducted 4 formative evaluation sessions to refine the prototype. In the local impact phase, I implemented the TMLE in a higher education setting, collected and analyzed the data, refined the TMLE during the intervention to address critical issues, and then finally refined the design principles. This presentation focuses on addressing the data collection and analysis of the local impact phase. With respect to the broad impact phase, it wasn't part of the dissertation study because of the time limits. The evaluation of local impact phase was the bulk of the dissertation study. There were 3 research questions that guided this phase, which are: the first one, what are students' reported perceptions of the TMLE's influence on their formal and informal learning of instructional design, knowledge, and skills? How and to what extent did the students engage in informal learning activities during the course? And finally, how did the students perceive the usability, relevance, and impact of the TMLE in helping them establish their professional development trajectory? I implemented the TMLE in one of the core courses required by the Instructional Design and Technologies Master Program in one of the research universities. The course titles EDIT 732, Analysis and Design of Technology-Based Learning Environments. This is a project-based learning course that fosters students' acquisition of fundamental instructional design knowledge and skills, such as user experience design process, learning theories, and interdisciplinary design principles. Students in this course are required to work within a group to investigate a real-world learning or training problem and connect with possible clients to design, implement, and then evaluate a technology-based learning intervention. I selected this course in particular because flexibility is embedded in the course design, in which the students brainstorm multiple design-related learning, training, or teaching problems and select an interesting problem to investigate. In addition, the students have the option to select a preferred technology to design their prototype. As such, the EDIT 732 course offers students excellent opportunities to sharpen their communication and collaboration skill sets as they interact with their peers and with subject matter experts. Furthermore, the faculty teaching this course was one of the studies committee members. Thus, convenience is one of the reasons for selecting this course. The participants were selected purposefully, and the only criterion was current enrollment in the EDIT 732 course. There were 13 students who participated in this study. Their age ranged from 24 to 60 years old, which might explain the big gap in their instructional design work experience between 0 and 20 years of experience. Only 4 participants had previous experience with using Google+, which is the online tool that I use to build the online community, as I will explain in the following slides. The students' limited exposure to Google+ caused additional technical complications engaging in the TMLE. About half of the participants were members of other communities of practice, that are related to their work tasks or part of their professional development. In addition to these students, this study included 12 experts to enrich the online learning community experience. The only criterion applied for selecting the expert is the number of years of experience in the field, which is 10 years or more. 2 of the experts have expertise in the social communication field, 2 in the UX design field, and the rest were instructional design experts. They provided the participants with a wide range of advice and perspectives across different industries and organizations. In fact, the UX and instructional design experts were alumni of the same master's program, and 2 were Ph.D. candidates at the same research university. Hence, they shared the same academic background as the participants, which increased rapport and supported interpersonal communication. I used 6 research-based design principles to guide the design of the TMLE, as I mentioned previously. The first one was about informing the students about the importance of informal learning in the field. The second one focused on creating a flexible learning environment. The third design principle was about creating a sense of learning community. The fourth one encouraged participating in feedback from experts as a form of supportive scaffolding. The fifth design principle promoted students to reflect on the informal learning experience, while the last one adhered to the volunteer nature of the informal learning activities within the online learning community, and thus needed to include many motivational factors to encourage students' participation. Based on the 6 design principles, I created 4 elements that reflected the TMLE design. The first one is a list of informal learning goals, a weekly course schedule, an online learning community within Google+, and an informal learning section within the learning management system, which is Blackboard, that was used in the course. So the learning goals that the students will gain from participating in the TMLE were provided to the students in the course syllabus. In addition, the students were also provided with a brief paragraph describing the intervention. The course syllabus also included a weekly schedule to illustrate the weekly informal learning activities. To do that, I used the exact formal weekly schedule that was created by the course instructor and added a fourth column that described the informal learning activities. The green highlighted informal learning activities supported formal learning, while the yellow highlighted activities supported students' professional development. As you can see in this slide, some informal learning activities were intended for the online learning community and some were face-to-face during the class time. The red arrows explain how some of the design principles were used to design the learning activities. The third intervention element consisted of creating a section about the informal learning activities in Blackboard. This section included a participation point chart that illustrated students' level of participation in the online learning community as a source of incentive. I also included an 11-minute orientation video that described the intervention and how to navigate Google Plus for the students. But I mainly used this section to summarize the informal learning activities that happened in the online learning community, to describe the suggested informal learning activities for the following week and to identify participation benefits as an incentive for the students. I used Google Plus to host the online learning community that titles Creative Instructional Designers. To set up the learning community in Google Plus, I included slide filters, as shown on the left, to help with organizing the posts. I added a welcome note with a list of suggested informal learning activities in week 1 and posted 2 YouTube videos about UX design. The Google Plus community was made public to allow the participants to invite other peers or colleagues. To start participating in the Google Plus Learning community, the participants needed to create a personal profile in Google Plus if they didn't have one already, and follow the Google Plus Learning community. The participants were able to view all members in the Google Plus Learning community and access their profile in Google Plus. The students participated in this learning community for 11 weeks. They used 2 Google Plus sections as part of the TMLE. The first section is Google Plus Learning Community, and the other section is Google Plus Collection. The Google Plus Learning Community, they used it to create professional development groups based on shared professional development goals. The students used these groups to share resources, ideas, and expertise. Some of the groups included the experts as well. The students also use Google Plus Learning Community to engage in informal discussions around topics suggested in the course syllabus, as well as to share resources, work challenges, ideas, and expertise to support their formal and informal learning. In the Google Plus section, in Google Plus collection, the students were asked to create an individualized professional development collection in Google Plus to post and track their professional development goals. Some participants used their collection to post interesting resources shared by experts or peers. The Google Plus collection was also used by the students to share their concept map of instructional design. So here is an example of one of the professional development groups that was created by students who were interested in the topic of networking. This example shows one of the students' Google Plus collection in which she used it to post her professional development goals, and she used it also as a repository for interesting resources shared by peers. From week 1 to week 6, the informal learning activities were the same as planned at the beginning of the semester. However, after week 6, I had to make some changes to the informal learning activities to address students' lack of participation. For example, I removed the semester reflection and the exit survey that were part of the intervention. I added one-on-one interviews with the students to gain their views about participating in the TMLE. I also added additional motivations, such as having in-person networking events with the experts. The students had a total of 2 in-person networking events to establish rapport among the Google Plus Learning Community's members and increase networking opportunities with experts in the learning community. This slide summarizes the posts and comments that were shared by the students in the Google Plus community and collection. The students shared 33 resources in Google Plus. 81% of them were informal resources. Of the 138 comments and posts that were shared by the students, 61% supported students' informal learning of instructional design, while 38% supported both formal learning and informal learning of instructional design. The students discussed many topics in the Google Plus Learning community, some of which were suggested as part of the weekly informal learning activities, and others came organically, such as asking questions about learning tools for their class projects. This table shows the number of participants who engaged in the different types of informal learning activities. As you can see, most of the participation was in the first in-person activity, in which the students listened to a user experience design expert who attended the second face-to-face class meeting. About half of the students attended the first social networking event that was held at the university's campus. On the other hand, only 2 students attended the second social gathering that was held at a coffee shop. This table illustrates individualized students' participation in the informal learning activities. They were mostly lurkers. And this chart shows the number of posts and comments shared by the students, mentors, the instructor, and the researcher in the Google Plus Learning community across 14 weeks. As you can see, the volume of the posts and comments varied from one week to another, in which week 8 holds the greatest number of comments and posts. Because we had a lot of discussions in the professional development groups, and that week the students participated in the first in-person activity. In addition, the chart shows a pattern between the researchers and the students' weekly posts. They closely decrease and increase, which suggests a possible conclusion that the researchers' post acted as a source of motivation. As a result of this study, I refined the 6 design principles into 2 main sections to reflect the lessons learned. The first section will help educators who are interested in creating a similar online learning community, while the second section focuses on the importance of facilitating the informal learning activities within the online learning community. This slide and the following one outline a summary of the main research findings. I'll let you go through them on your pace. If you have questions about any part of this presentation, or if you need additional information about the TMLE, please don't hesitate to contact me via email or LinkedIn. Thank you.